In our last series, we had Anthony Turner attend the studio. Anthony talked to us about the 5 pillars for success, and today he's returning to the studio to give us greater details on each of the pillars.
Thanks, David. In previous videos, we spoke about the 5 pillars for success in a generic sense, and we've discussed already the first 2 of those pillars, know where you are and know where you're going. Today, I'm going to be talking about pillar number 3, which is decide your income. And this is the one where we actually look at the financial aspects of your business. One of the fundamental things that I see most business owners make a mistake around is that they actually don't plan to make money out of their businesses. And this pillar is all about deciding your income, deciding how much you are worth, and including that as part of the returns out of your business. Now, probably many of you that are watching the video or listening to this audio have found that you have ended up working at the cheapest rate for the longest hours that you've ever done in your life. And as I said before, it's probably key to the fact that you haven't really sat down and thought about how much money you require to run all of the expenses of your business, pay yourself a reasonable lifestyle wage, and then make profit on top of that to actually grow your business. One of the things I'm going to show you now is on the whiteboard, which is how we actually break up our budget and how to budget to succeed. Okay, so for our budget process, one of the key things that those that you have done budgets before would probably recognise this sort of a format. And basically you've got your months here in the middle, you've got a total over on this side, and you've got categories of expenditure or income on this side. Now in most budget and cash flow tools, you will find that you have your income at the top, and there's a little list of income opportunities and then some dollars sitting there. And the next thing is the expenses. And with the expenses, there is quite a long list. And sadly, no matter which way we do it, there's a long list of expenses. And then at the end of that, you also have got some dollars. And at the end of the day, you've got a column right down here at the bottom which says plus or minus, I either made money or I didn't make any money in that particular month or over the course of the year. Now, there's nothing wrong with this tool, in my opinion, as being a tool for analysing what has actually happened. However, I don't believe it's the best tool to help you decide how much money you need to generate for your business. So what we do is, in the process that we use, we turn the whole thing upside down. And we start off with the expenses. And once again, we have this long list, and sadly, the way we do it doesn't shorten the list, it just means that the list gets turned around a different way. One of the things that we do on this list, though, is we put in an element here which is called wages. And this is not the wages for your staff, although that is one of your expenses. This is the wages that you, as a business owner, expect to take out of your business. Once you've done that, and you add all of those up, then you actually have here is a subtotal of your total expenses. Very simple. The next thing though is to consider is, do you want to grow your business? Now, most business owners that we've spoken with and we've worked with the process have all said yes. But the question is, how do you actually fund that growth? Now, fundamentally, you've got a couple of ways. One is that you can plan for it, which is what I'm going to show you how to do here. Or the alternative is to use what we call the TATS-LOTTO method, and that's where you hope the money's going to turn up when you need it most, but invariably it doesn't. So what we do is we suggest that you put on a minimum of 20%, what we call profit for growth. And then add those two together, and that gives you an income target. So just look at it this way. So let's say all of your expenses added up to 100. Profit for growth at 20% is 20. That means that you've got an income target of 120. That's the amount of money that you have to generate from your business to cover your costs and to pay you a wage, and to have a little bit of money left over to expand your business. Now, this is fine if you are a service-based business. So somebody who's like a health practitioner or an accountant, lawyer, or something like that, you can work with this. However, what I would suggest is for a service-based business, you want to be making more than just 20% And when I ran my coaching consultancy business, I used to run mine at around about 55 to 60% profit for growth. The income target then became my sales target as well. Now, for many of you, you're going to be in businesses where you've got to buy product for resale. So maybe a hospitality type business where you're buying food to resell, liquor to resell, or it could be a retail shop where you've got to buy goods to resell. What you've then got to do is then add on the cost of goods. Now, typically that is the profit margin. And when you add the two things together, then you end up with your sales targets. Now, one of the fundamental questions we often get asked is, why should I use 20%? And it really comes down to two things. The first is a psychological answer, and the second is a mathematical answer. What do I mean by a psychological answer? What I've found, and what my colleagues have found over working with hundreds of businesses, is that those people who know that that number there is the number they get, typically get between 90 and 120% of that target amount. Conversely, the people who don't understand what that number is typically get between 50 and 80% of that number, which is their expenses. In other words, if you don't know what the number is, you are likely to get, you need 100, you're typically going to get 50 or 80. And the only place that that money can come from is either through further investment into your business or from not paying yourself. Now, simple mathematical response to that, assuming that this is correct, and I've proven it to be correct many, many times, is that if you only get 90% of the 120 you're looking for, so we've got 120 minus 12, which is taking away 10%, still gives you 108. That means you've still got $8,000 more than the $100,000 that you need, so you've got some money left over to actually invest in your business. So fundamentally, that's the process. The next thing is that you can then, once you've understood what your income targets are if you're a service business, or your sales targets are if you're a product business, you can start working out how many things you have to sell and what your pricing is going to be. So if you know, for example, you've got to sell you need $120 in your account, and you sell things at $10, you've got to make 12 sales. If that's 120,000, then you just use the multiplier effect, based on the volume. So this is just a very simplistic approach. The methodology for that is available, and we're happy to help supply it to you. So now I'm going to talk a bit more about the pricing. Okay, having just shown you on the whiteboard how we actually work through the budget process, one of the things that you would have noticed is that the last number, and that is the amount of dollars that you've actually got to generate out of your business to make your business successful. Now, this leads us naturally into pricing. How do you actually price your product or your service so that you can actually achieve those figures that we covered on the whiteboard? Now, typically, you've got two ways of pricing. You can either price by hours, or you can price by product. When you're talking about product, there is an element there which is your profit margins, which we showed you on the board when we were calculating the cost of goods element. But when you're pricing for hours, one of the key things to remember is that it's very easy to say, oh, I'm going to work 40 hours a week, and I'm going to divide my total from my whiteboard by 40. And that's going to tell me how much I have to charge an hour. Well, that's not necessarily true. And the reason that that's not necessarily true is that you actually don't necessarily bill all of those 40 hours of the week. Typically, you've got to think about the fact that if I'm doing my work in a service-based business and I'm actually only seeing clients half the time, you've got to divide that number by 20 hours instead of 40 hours to actually achieve the same result. So pricing is something that's very, very individual. And what I would suggest you do is with your pricing is to get some support from one of the business mentors that are available to you, and they will help guide you through that process. Next thing about your pricing and about the financial sides of your business is to recognise that you've only got 4 simple ways of how you can grow and develop your business. The first of those is to increase your profits. Now, one of the simplest ways to do that is to charge more when your costs are the same and you can increase the profit margin. Another way to do that is covered by the last one here, is to decrease the expenses so that you're actually getting a larger share of whatever it is that you're selling and promoting. The next one is to increase the frequency. This is the number of times that you will actually work with individual clients. So for example, I've done some work with massage therapists and they often say, oh look, we treat a problem, but after that it's fixed and they're not going to come back again. Well, not necessarily, because if you think a little bit laterally, you might think like you've bought a car. When you bought a car, you regularly get it serviced every so many thousand kilometres. Well, as a massage therapist, why can't you turn and say something like, well, we've now got this bit of pain out of the way, but to save it coming back, what I suggest you do is that every 2 months or 3 months or whatever, we book in an appointment for you to keep your body supple so that you don't have the pain come back again. So you think about different ways of how you can get the customers to come back more frequently into your business. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the marketing thing. The next one is to increase the value, and that is to increase the value of the sale. While somebody's actually in your business and they're buying something, it is easier to add something on, and probably McDonald's are one of the better ones. Would you like fries with that? Would you like a drink with that? And a lot of times people say no, but oftentimes they actually say yes. Now the trick is, obviously, selling fries and selling a thick shake is not going to help if you're a massage therapist. But what you can do is look at elements of your business that cost you nothing or very little to actually give, and you can add those on as an additional benefit and maybe generate a lot more profit out of your business. Now I've deliberately put decrease the expenses at the bottom there because there is a real danger in decreasing expenses. Many of us would have been to a restaurant. First time that it opens and you get a beautiful plate of food, it's all fresh, good size helping. You go back 3 months later, it's a bit less. You go back another 3 months later, it's even less again, it's not as fresh, and you wonder why you've gone back there. The danger with decreasing expenses to make money in your business is that oftentimes you can sacrifice the quality of what you are offering, which is the real reason why people came to you in the first place. So my recommendation to you is that when we're talking about all of the finances or the financial aspects of your business, the first thing is very simply, make sure you do appropriate budgets. As we showed you on the whiteboard, the budgets that enable you to work out your expenses, add on profit to grow your business, add on your cost of goods, and that will determine your sales targets. Work out the pricing that is appropriate to your business. And then look at different ways that you can grow the value parts or the financial parts of your business using these 3 tools of increasing profit, frequency, value. But as I said before, when you come to decrease expenses, don't sacrifice the quality of what you service. Otherwise, what you'll really be sacrificing is customers coming back to your business in total. I'll catch you next time when we talk about the marketing.